But yeah, let's get this started. So yeah, I don't know exactly what the title is 100% yet, but I know it's something to do with that. Yeah, I dropped out of college at 23 to pursue video editing as a career, and now I make over $100,000. And I don't say that lightly. I know how fortunate and blessed I am to be in this position, but there's a lot of things that happen to make this happen, and then also I just want to talk about like where even my goals are at this point. It's not exactly a I made it and that's it situation for me, which I feel like it goes to go with a lot of people out there as well. Now, I'm gonna try also to make sure this podcast does not have a lot of cuts in it. But if I do, I just promise it wasn't like anything big. Like I'm gonna give you as much as I can, unfiltered and uncutted as well. So all right, so let's start off with dropping out of college essentially. The whole gist of that. So dropping out of college was not an easy decision. So backtracking a little bit, before I went to college, when I was in high school, my counselor asked me what exactly was it that I was going to do because I had taken what was it the was it your SATs or ACTs? So the test that determines, your GPA and all that or whatever, where you're going to go to school, and schools look at it to determine if you're a good fit or not. When I took it, I honestly just did medium, like I did mid. I don't know what the proper wording for that would be. And even though that happened, I still was always a student that had a 3.5 to 3.8 GPA. I always got A's and B's, and my counselor was like, you have a good future ahead of you, so to speak, but like, what is it they want to do? And I didn't know. So I made a whim decision to just go to this college that I've heard of. And in that college, I wanted to study computer science, which is also a whim decision that I made. Because believe it or not, I actually never gave it much thought when I was in high school, what it was that I was going to study. And I don't know. I don't know if a part of that was because of my lack of preparation, even though I always felt that I kind of thought ahead in a lot of things. But yeah, I just had no clue what I was going to do. So I just did that. I went to my first college to study computer science. And it was in that first year where a lot of video stuff happened even then, because I've been video editing since I was 14. And, up until that time, I was kind of just creating for myself. The only real taste of like, I don't know, entrepreneurship or whatever you want to call it, was when my cousin paid me money for a wedding video that I did for him, which I did out of love for my cousin and his wife. And the fact that they paid me $50 for it, I was like, wait, like I never really put two and two together. I just didn't think this was a thing, And where I grew up too, in my hometown, there wasn't really anyone that I knew that was doing this. So like, it's not like I knew how to navigate, how to even charge someone for video. So anyway, when I got the $50, that kind of sparked an interest in me. And then I went to my first college, and in that first year, I made some amazing friends, and I made some friends who are musicians. They were in a band, and they kind of wanted someone to help them with their videos. And me being me doing this as a hobby, I was like, oh, hey, I would love to do it. I have my own YouTube channel that I just create for fun on. And I'd never done music, but I would be interested. So I made a friendship with them through that, and I helped them with their journey to some extent, of course. And that was also another great time that I had of gaining experience, and not only in just editing now, but it was like production, because I was doing the videography for them. We were planning out how we are going to do these shots and all that. And it just sparked that interest in me, and me realizing like, this is fun. And it's hard too when you're doing it all by yourself. Like I'm definitely someone that likes to be a team player, but there's a nice ownership to doing a lot of things yourself. So, when I did that, they allowed me to really take creative freedom with everything we were doing. So that was a great time. And the thing is now, fast forwarding through that first year of college, I was watching, do you guys know who Wong Fu Productions is on YouTube? If you don't, check them out. They make amazing stories, and it's focused on the Asian culture, which I think is beautiful. And I like that they do that for themselves and for their community. Now, there's a video called Somewhere Like This. I think that's what it was called, or Someplace Like This. And it was in watching that video I realized, because I'm just a sucker for romance movies and stuff like that. I've always really enjoyed them, and after watching that video, I was like, man, this is so beautiful, and I'm like, I want to be a part of something like this, and it doesn't have to be like romance or anything, but like just to know I contributed to something that can touch people the way that video touched me. Like that's when I started realizing this is what I want to do. And I had to make the decision then, that first year of college and the first college I attended, that I wanted to switch colleges, because I now wanted to study whatever that was, which was at the time when I switched colleges now, which I'll share the name. I went to Columbia College in Chicago, in downtown Chicago. So that was my art school of choice when I went. And now in transferring and doing that change, that wasn't that hard of a decision, because it was just my first year, and I kind of realized like, oh, Tony, you dummy, you should have just done this from the beginning. But I was learning, and I was only 19 at the time. So now a 20 now I'm 20. So now this 20-year-old guy, me, is going now to community, or going to art school in Columbia College in Chicago. And that's when I realized for sure, right? Like I was like, okay, this is a really cool environment that I felt I belonged in, because I was amongst other creatives. I was amongst people that gave a crap about the thing I was studying. Like I was studying animation and cinematography being my focus, animation being my second. The reason for that is because cinematography, I figured, was a good gateway to what I wanted to learn. And animation is because I love animation so much that, aside from that Wong Fu video, my biggest inspiration to do what I do is also animation. My biggest inspirations are like Pixar, DreamWorks, Disney. I'm just such a huge sucker for animation that I wanted to start dipping my foot into that as well. So, I took my first year and I made some great friends. I made one of my best friends there. Me and her are still best friends to this day. And when I attended, I realized too, like, okay, I like what I was studying, but I didn't like the way I was studying it. And this one is a little tricky, and I don't want to seem like I was a know-it-all at that time, because trust me, even now I'm not. But at the time when I went to that art school and I was studying everything, what I didn't like was the curricular to some extent, because I was learning traditional media stuff. Like I was learning like, okay, how did some of the greats do their videography? What are some of the great movies that a lot of like filmmakers should learn, and all this stuff? And while a lot of it, I reflect on it now to realize how much that really could have applied to my career now. But at the time, I was like, well, look, I want to learn this stuff for YouTube. I don't want to learn it to go into traditional, so to speak. Like I was still so unsure of what I wanted. The only thing I knew I wanted was to be on YouTube. So, I didn't like the way my teachers were kind of grading my assignments. I didn't like that they would say, be creative and do this one thing, and I would do it, and then they gave me like a C on it. They gave me a C because of, I always thought it was like their creative vision and how they interpreted it and how they think it should have been done, where I'm like, well, I thought creativity meant I get to express myself. Like, I don't know. I was just kind of a mess, to be honest. I really was at the time. But I still don't regret the decision of going to that school, gaining that experience that I did, because that led me to one of my best friends, as I mentioned, who's going to play a role in everything later. And not only that, but it made me realize, like, okay, maybe I don't need to go to school for what I'm studying. Like, I was like, what if I just take a year off and do this editing thing freelance? Or at the time, I didn't think it was freelance, but I was like, okay, what if I just take the time off and just try things by myself? And for good and for worse, that was a good decision. Now, granted, here's the thing. This means that I have now went to college for 2 years with nothing to show for it. I have no associates. I have nothing, right? All I have is a huge amount of debt. And in the time of my break, I did get lucky. So here is when like my first official taste of what this could be got me. I don't even know if that made sense, but so what happened was, after I dropped out, I came home. I knew I needed to work, right? I was immediately looking for jobs. I needed to make sure I can even just pay my phone bill, and that's when I got my first job with a YouTube channel called Planet Dolan. Now, if you guys look them up, I don't think Planet Dolan exists anymore. Like the channel exists, but I don't think Dolan and the team are uploading anymore. I really don't know what happened to any of them. I wish them all the best of luck though. But yeah, that was my first taste into it. And I believe at the time I was making like $30 a video that I would edit for them. Um, and to me, that was a great start, because like I was getting a lot of videos to edit. So I was making like $300 a week, which for me at the time was amazing. I was like, wow, I'm getting paid to do this. I have a lot of work I can work on. I would literally like go home after work, because at the time I also worked at a gym. So I would go home after work from the gym to edit, and I was always looking forward to the editing. I never looked really forward to like my gym life, even though I still love the gym and all that. But like I was so focused on making the editing a thing that I really learned right then and there. I was like, no, this is what I want. This is amazing. And I'm working in animation, something I'm very passionate about. Like I felt like the stars were genuinely aligning for me. I felt like maybe taking that year off of college wasn't a mistake. Maybe this led to something that I should have tried pursuing to begin with. Now, the unfortunate thing that happens in this story is there came a time where I don't know how I knew this, and I'm not gonna make this into like a spiritual religious thing or anything like that, but something in me knew that my time with Planet Dolan was ending. I seriously had a feeling I was gonna get fired, not through any means of myself, but just something was gonna happen where I was gonna lose my job. So I mentally prepared for that, and when that time came, it was kind of like a punch in the gut, because my gut feeling was right this whole time. But I also, because I had that feeling early on, I was like, okay, what will I do now after Planet Dolan? Because there's gonna go a huge large of my income, and yeah, just what am I gonna do? So the sucky thing is, after Planet Dolan, I had maybe one or two editing gigs, which is crazy to think about, because with Planet Dolan at the time, they were like a 3 or 4 plus million subscribed channel. And like everyone says, right, us editors or us creatives are gonna get paid with exposure. I thought the exposure from them was going to be enough to kind of keep that ball rolling for me, but it wasn't. Like, genuinely it wasn't. And there came a point where I only worked with one or two other people, where I was making with one guy like $80 a week, because anything more than that, they were like, well, why are you charging so much? This isn't worth the money and all that. And I was like, I was naive at the time. How was I supposed to know? So, I sucked it up, and I worked those 2 quick gigs that I had that lasted me maybe only 2 months. And then after that, the new year happened, and that's when I was officially unemployed. And that is where I was very scared, because the gym wasn't what I wanted, and it wasn't even enough to really cover my basic necessities. And, I went through, quite honestly, a huge depression. And what had happened was, I don't remember the year. It might have been 2016. Or was it 2016? Was it 2017? Maybe it was 2016. But the point is, like, let's assume it's 2016. I don't have it on my head right now. But what had happened is, I went through a whole year and a half almost. I know for sure it was a year, but I believe it was like a year and some months, where I just did not get any clients at all. And that really broke me, because I just, at the time, I was like, what an idiot. Like, how stupid am I to drop out of college having no idea how to navigate any of this? I didn't know what to expect. I just didn't, like, I was just like, why would I drop everything I had going for me? Like, like, I don't consider myself a dumb person, but I know I'm not a genius. So I was like, how did I just convince myself that I can just do this? Like, I don't know. It was just really bad, where, yeah, I don't think I've hit that bad of a depression in a long time, where I felt like such a fuck up. And, like, in that time, like, yes, I was working at the gym, but like, I had to make my own income there too. I had to get clients. I had to make sure I was signing up people to get bonuses and whatever. And it was just a bad time. And it was that time, it was that year where in my freelancing gig, and it wasn't even that first year, it was like those couple months after that led to this, where I basically only made $1,000 in freelance editing. And that $1,000 was just nothing for what I had to do, for what I had to pay. Like I was at a point where, and I'm fortunate for this for sure, where I had to have my family cover my expenses, which at the time, luckily, was just really like food, my phone bill, the internet. But there was stuff that I was trying to get that I just didn't have the money for, and they were nice enough to help me buy it, whether it was software at the time, maybe something for the camera, and that's the thing, like it just put me in such a bad state of mind where I genuinely felt like I made the worst decision of my life. So let's fast forward it now. I believe at this point I was 23. It might have been 23, maybe early 24, right? Because in June. Well, my point is this. I ended up going back to college, right? After all that situation that occurred, I went back to college. And when I went back to college, I went back to a different college. So now I went to three. And I was continuing my computer science degree. I figured, you know what? Let's take the safe route, so to speak. Let me try to rectify the time that I wasted. Let me try to make it up. Let me get a degree. Let me get an associate's. Let me get something to just put me back on track. Now, the cool thing, whoops, I hit my camera. I think it's fine. Now, the cool thing is that when I went back to college, because I made some friends years prior. And those friends were like, hey, we have an esports team, and we heard that you do video stuff. What if you got a scholarship to do the video stuff for us? And I was like, holy crap. Now, mind you, again, that I was going to college to do the computer science degree, but a part of me was like, look, another sign that video editing is probably my thing. Why am I getting now offered a scholarship to edit videos for an esports team if editing isn't meant for me? Like, that's how my brain was thinking about it. So, yeah, I went back. I don't think it was more than like 3 months. It was a couple months. I honestly didn't even finish the semester or whatever, a quarter. I forgot how we did it. I didn't finish it. And the crazy thing is, I was just like I was just a month away from at minimum getting my associates, which I was like, oh, I could just suck it up, like I'll just get this associate so I have something to show for the 3 times I attempted college. Like, I just really needed something. But something in me, again, not trying to make this all spiritual and whatnot, but something in me was like, look, you need to leave. College ain't it. So I know it sounds like I'm following my heart all the time or my feelings, but I swear that these feelings I got at the time were so strong, I felt more dumb to ignore them than to not. So I thought about it, though. I did think it through. One last time, I thought, okay, will my parents be upset? Can I continue to beg from my family to help me? Because I know I'm very fortunate to have a family that could even help me in any way. Like I was just like, what am I going to do? So I did it. I ended up leaving again. That was the time that I officially dropped out, though. So one thing that I thought about in the time that I was contemplating leaving was I thought to myself, listen, if you leave, you are to not return to college again. You are not going to have a plan B. You are not going to just convince yourself that this isn't worth it. Because if you left college a second time because of this, there has to be something to it. And this feeling I got was so strong where I just thought, I am just stupid to be bouncing back and forth, continuously adding more debt into what I currently have. Like, just don't go back. And I'll admit I had a lot of nights where I cried. I was living in my family attic. It was very hot, and I turned it into a bedroom, and, we didn't have central air or anything, and I had an AC, but, I sucked up being in a very uncomfortable place for a long time. But it was in through that I realized, like, no, this is it. This is what I'm gonna stick with. So once I made that decision and I dropped out, my college counselor at the time, he was like, "Okay, here you want to leave though. Like, what? Why are you leaving?" And I told him my plans. I was like, "Look, there's this thing I want to do, which is video editing." And he's like, "Oh, well, we have that here." And I was like, "Well, I kind of want to learn for YouTube." And he's just like, "Well, even I'll admit, I'm like, well, what would I even tell myself then?" It's like, well, okay, so you can still learn editing in college, sure, but I understood what I also meant when I said YouTube, because I was like, well, I want to learn things the YouTube way, because YouTube is a different monster and I wanted to be a part of it. I've already been a part of it for so long, so why not try to get smarter about it? So anyway, so it was then where, yeah, my counselor just said to me, like, look, if you leave, you're gonna owe an extra 5,000 because your tuition isn't gonna be covered, and it's just more money was added onto my debt now yet again. But I still decided to make that decision, and I am very fortunate to say that my parents were very supportive. I know they were a little scared because even to this day, it's still a little hard to explain to my family what it is that I do. But they understood the concept that their son was not going to sit at home and do nothing. They understood that I was pursuing something that I just didn't feel like I needed a college degree for, you know? So yeah, that's where, all right, I dropped out. No falling back to any other plans. I had to go head first in this. And then it was then again, a nice little limbo period, right? Where I believe this is 2017 now when this decision was made, where I thought, all right, there's no plan B. Let's go all in. So I started learning more on editing. I started learning more about management, networking, how to send messages. I was just looking up anything I can to kind of get my ball rolling. And to some degree, that worked. Like, I've sent maybe hundreds, and I'm not exaggerating there, of Twitter messages to people that were contemplating hiring an editor, and I was vouching for myself. I did the same thing on LinkedIn. Even on LinkedIn, I actually managed to get a hold of a director and producer over at Disney. Like, I just sent them a cold message saying, hey, my name is Tony. I'm a college dropout, but, you work at Disney. I love that place, and I see that you work in production, blah, blah, blah. What advice do you have for me to possibly push me in the right direction? And I actually got an email back, and he was very nice about everything. And, I don't want to share his name or anything, but it was kind of cool because later on to this day, I actually followed up an email with him telling him what I've been up to since we last spoke like 5-6 years ago. And I don't know, it's just crazy. That situation in my life was kind of crazy. But anyway, moving along. Now, after sending all those emails and everything, I still needed money, of course. So I went back to working at the gym. But then the gym thing, I just wanted to stop doing. So I ended up leaving. And that's when my sister at the time was working at Nike. And she told me, hey, if you need money, I have a really good reputation with them. Come work with us. You'll be on the floor with me, and it'll get me by. And it really did. Nike was the only retail job I've ever had, and it's the second, no, technically third. I want to say second though. Like, the second job that I got that was kind of a more traditional job that I sucked it up, and I just want to say to all of you that do retail and all that, thank you, because I did it only for like 4 or 5 months, and boy, did that beat my butt up. Like, that was just, yeah, it's just not for me. And I'm not bashing anyone that does that job. We need you, believe it or not, we do. So anyway, now it was then though, like right before the Nike job, right? So I got my job at Nike, but I skipped a little part, right? So let's backtrack just a pinch. So what had happened was, it was the summer, and I was sending my cold emails and doing what I can, right? And then my best friend Natalie, the one I told you guys I met in college, she said, hey, there is this YouTuber I like to watch. He's an educational YouTuber who is looking for a video editor. You should go and apply. And I thought, okay, well, what's his name? She sent me the job posting, and it was Thomas Frank. So I looked at Tom's stuff and, I was like, well, I don't know Premiere. I understand what he's asking of me, but I'm not exactly qualified. Like I just knew what I could and couldn't do, but I was determined to try. Because no matter what happened, even if I had to lie, I wanted to try to make an impression and then to see if I can do it. So I applied to Tom and, you know, I lied a little, like I wanted to get my foot in. But one thing stood out to him that I'm very happy about because I swear that's a characteristic of mine that I was hoping he would notice and he did, which is that, I'm someone that loves to learn. I'm someone that doesn't shy away from learning. And I'm also someone that if it needs to be learned to get something done, I will do it. And it was that alone, the fact that I was an independent learner to him, is what catapulted me to the top of the list, which I think right there is a valuable lesson in itself. But yeah, so now that I applied to Tom and it was the summer, that's when Tom was like, "Hey, let's meet." So we communicated, we talked. I told him the truth, where I'm like, "Look, I've never really used Premiere much. I think at the time I've only used it once. After Effects, kind of the same thing. I knew about templates and all this stuff, but I told him that like I really wanted to make this something because I really want my career to start. I need something. I was desperate basically. But I wasn't lying to him that I cared about learning and all this other stuff. And we came to an agreement where Tom gave me a grace period where I was able to kind of try to learn everything that he needed. And like that was the biggest month of my life where I was like every single day from the second I woke up to the second I went to bed, I was doing my best to learn what I needed to learn for the job. And so there came the point where, yeah, we were kind of like, okay, let's do one video a month. And even through that, I was making $350 per video with Tom, which is a great starting rate. I needed anything. And he paid me like 3 or 4 times more than I was going to charge him because I just didn't know. So when Tom said 350, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, this guy's really nice. But in reality, it's just because Tom really understood things. He understood a starting rate. Like I was very blessed to meet him at the time I did. So the problem was, though, that even though I was doing one video a month with him, it wasn't enough to get me by still. And he also knew that he wasn't producing at the rate that he kind of thought. So I told him, like, listen, I need a job, but I'm still going to edit for you. But just know I need a job to pay my bills. So I'm going to go work at Nike. But let's keep this relationship going. So that is how Tom and I started. We started remotely, and I was doing one video a month, if that, while working full-time at Nike, but I was doing his thing at night or on the weekends. And we did that for a while. With Nike, I was only destined to really work through the Thanksgiving season, the Black Friday stuff. But obviously I still needed work, so I kind of stuck with it. I think it was like until March or April, something like that. But in that time, Tom and I were still communicating. We were talking. I was learning the software. I was really committing to it. And then there came a point where Tom said, hey, why don't you come to Colorado and let's have like an editing boot camp and try to learn as much as we can to make the videos even better. And that completely blew me away because I have never sincerely traveled outside of Illinois that wasn't Mexico for business, right? This felt like a business trip. And not only that, but I felt like Tom actually believed in me enough that he wanted me to go work with him in person so we can figure this out. And yeah, that just was, I can't even explain how fortunate I felt at that time. And I still do. So with my best friend, Natalie, we went to go visit him. And it was only for like 4 days, something like that. But those 4 days were like the biggest 4 days of my life because I got to meet him. I learned that Tom and I are a lot more similar than either of us have expected when it comes to how much we love to learn, how much we want to do good in this world. We want to make stuff that improves people's lives, that we share the same music interests. We have a lot of the same hobbies. Like, I don't know. I don't know how else to say it, but when I say like, I was very fortunate to meet him because it was kind of like meeting like a best friend that I never knew I needed in my life. Like I needed someone like Tom at the time. So, yeah, when we met, um, yeah, he was just showing me. We talked, we did our work, and that's when Tom said, jokingly, because I think at the time we were at a pizza place that he took us. I wish I could remember. And oh no, I think we were in his backyard. Boy, this part. Okay, well, point is, Tom was like, "Hey, what do you think of Colorado?" And I was like, "Honestly, I really like the vibe here. I'm like, I like this place." And then I jokingly said, "Oh man, I could move here." And then he kind of agreed with it and joked around too. But a part of me was like, "Wait." I'm like, "Wait a minute. Yeah, why don't I? What stops me from moving here? Because I have nothing else, so to speak, you know." Um, so literally from that point on, we talked about it, and then if I stopped doing my work at Nike in April, in middle of May or kind of lateish May, I moved out here to Colorado, and we started working together in person. Now, I'm going to mention some money here because I want you guys to really understand how my pay increased over time. So, I mentioned that I started with Tom at $350 a video to start. And to move to Colorado, I needed to make 3 times the rent, or 2 or 3 times the rent. Um, no, yeah, I needed to make 2 or 3 times the rent. So we bumped my pay now to a salary. We did, or a retainer, rather, of $4,300 a month, which was a huge financial risk for Tom. I understand that. But it was also a risk for me as well because I was moving to a state where I had no family. Tom was my only friend, and it was scary. It was very, very scary, but I was very determined, like I keep saying, to make this into something good. So we moved out here. So now my pay went from $350 per video to a monthly retainer of $4,300. And in the time that I first moved out here, it was great. Like, I every day woke up excited. I was very determined to continue to learn, and I was determined to impress Tom because I just genuinely wanted this guy to not feel regret hiring me. I didn't want him to regret hiring me, essentially. But I also liked him as a friend. And then there came already my first experience on how to manage a professional work and like a work and personal relationship with somebody that I work with. So, over time, things just developed better and better. We were making more content. We had our friend Martin helping us, our writer Ransom. Like we were doing as good as we can for what little team we had. And the more money Tom made, the more we repurposed it, or put it back into, rather, to the business. So we got more cameras, we got better equipment, and with the better equipment, came more knowledge, and Tom and us wanting to learn. Like we learned about cameras more, about grading. We learned about like After Effects more. Every camera that we have in the studio, I basically have to make sure I know as well, because I don't only just help Tom with like editing. I help him now with production, with video production, whether that's set design, whether, hey, let's set up some lights for a shot. I want it to feel this kind of way. To, hey, clear the SD cards, make sure they're formatted, make sure all the cameras are in place, make sure the lenses are right. I basically felt even to this day, I still feel like I'm basically his second to him. Like, anything he needs to get done that he cannot do, I need to be able to be the one to go and do it. And I take a lot of pride in that. But I also know that's a lot of responsibility. So that is partly why I was very determined to show him, like, listen, like, I want you to know how much I love what I'm doing, how thankful I am that you hired me, and also to show you just how determined I am to make this a great collaborative process for both of us, So, all right, where was I here? So, yeah, so $4,300 a month we started once I moved out here. And over time, we did some courses, our videos did well. So eventually, I don't remember. I know I can just look at my statements here to get an exact number. I don't remember what the second bump in pay was. It might have been my third year in. So my very first time working with him, $350 a video. My first year went up to a monthly retainer of $4,300. My second pay increase, I believe, I'm pretty sure I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure it was somewhere in the 6,000s, maybe $7,000 a month. Which again, I was very blessed, but I also knew the work that went into earning this much money a month, how I wasn't going to take it for granted. Now, I also want you guys to hear out what I'm saying, that over time, even though I know I'm a video editor, I was making more money, but not because like just the editing itself. I was making more money because of the skills that I was learning. I learned more skills and I became more valuable to the business. And I like to think that I contributed so much to earn my fair share. So, that in itself, I think is another lesson for anyone listening to this, where it's not a simple process. At least it wasn't for me, and it still isn't. Where you have to continuously show up every day, prove to yourself, prove to those around you how serious you are, what you want, your goals. And I have a feeling that over time, the hard work pays off and you'll get your pay increase if that's what you're searching. And I don't know, that's how it happened for me. So the question now then remains, how did I earn over $100,000? How do I do that now, right? Because now with Tom, we're reaching close to 6 years of working together. So I like to think, and part of why I earn what I earn now, it still goes back to the fundamentals that I am always learning. I'm always trying to help Tom in any way I can. We live near each other, so I'm always accessible. I also just love living near Tom personally. We're also friends, which is, I know, a little iffy, but like we're friends. So like I want to be close to him because I want to be close to my friends. So now over time, I learned a lot of skills. And in those skills, I continue to try to sharpen them. But then I also, over time, finally started networking. And that is where I think a big factor in this podcast that I want to share comes on to play for the individual that you are out there. Because even though I met Tom, and even though through Tom, I got to meet a lot of wonderful people, a lot of huge, popular people I never thought I would meet. Like I got to meet Linus and the team from Linus Tech Tips. I got to meet Ali Abdal. I've gotten to talk a little bit to Matt Diavella, to Joey from Better Ideas. I got to meet people from Nebula. So that's like Sam from Wendover Productions, and Charles Cornell, the pianist, great guy. I got to meet a lot of wonderful, big, influential people. But I also know, and this is no shade to anyone that I know, okay? But I also know that those, even though they're my peers, they're not really my peers in a way. Like, I'm a creator at heart, and so are they. But everyone that I know at the time, or I knew at the time, were big creative influencers, and I was never able to be a part of a lot of the conversations they were having. Whether it's conversations having about business, about the YouTube space and the algorithm and flying to this state and being in Slack groups, I was able to contribute some things, of course, because I picked up a lot as time went on. But I also knew, like, look, they don't want to talk to me. They want to talk to Tom. And that's okay. So that's when I started feeling a lot more lonely, to be honest. I felt very isolated from a lot of my group because I wasn't, like, I'm glad that they loved my work with Tom, but I wasn't in the room with them, So that's when I realized I need to network more and I need to meet more editors. I need to meet people that are behind the scenes because those are the people that I feel I'll relate to the most. So yeah, this part now I want to talk about kind of like how I feel or how I make now also 100,000. This really does play a factor to it. So the way this happens is like over time I started meeting more people. So I would actually send out Twitter messages. If you guys don't use Twitter or X, like I understand how bad of a platform that can be, but that is one of the biggest contributions I have to how I met a lot of great friends that I have now that are outside of creators, that are also editors and such, because we all follow each other on there and we all message each other. And that's how I reached a lot of these people. Was I was just sending messages on Twitter explaining who I was, what I did, who I worked with, and all this stuff. And it was great, like really. And so let's fast forward a little bit. So okay, let me make sure I get this right. So it was, I think last year, what am I in? We're in January now. So not last year anymore. So in 2022, I want to say it might have been August. somewhere around there in 2022, was when, the business was doing well with Tom, and it is. And um, I got a pay increase again. So this is my third pay increase, right? So from 4,000, from 350 to 4,300 was one. 4,000 to whatever the second one was, 6,000 or 7,000, I don't remember. So that's two, and 7 to 10, three. Yeah, so that's my third pay increase that I got. And again, I make sure I earn it. I make sure I'm here at the studio ready to work. I make sure I'm learning more. Like I earn my keep. Jeez, listen to me. um, so yeah, but now here's the thing. So I now make 10,000 a month through this job alone. So now that I make this much, another goal still is like, okay, I still need to make sure that Tony, like the editor, the creator, separate from Tom, has something of myself. Like I genuinely want something for myself. So that's when I started networking more, because I wanted more people to know I exist, because I also would like to take side work. I take client work every now and then. And through that is also how I got to meet a lot more people. So now we're kind of caught up now to where I currently am in my life. And let me share a little bit of the good that happened in 2023 to really have you understand what the power of networking did for me at the time. So, little by little, I was putting my name out there. I was replying to people on Twitter. I was reaching out to other editors. Anytime Tom mentioned something on Twitter, I made sure I involved myself. Like I nonstop will always vouch for myself now. I will always put my name out there now. I will not rely on anyone else to do that for me, because no one will do that for me. It's up to me. And it's the same thing for anyone else out there. If you are trying to do this for yourself, if you want to be a creator, you want to be an editor, you have to vouch for yourself. You have to be the one. And no matter how introverted you are out there, because I myself am an introvert as well, but I care more about being successful than I care about being shy, that I'm willing to put myself out there. And in doing that, I got so many amazing opportunities. For example, one of the biggest ones that happened for me in 2023 was, well, actually, I'm sorry, 2022. This was right before my pay increase, right? So what had happened in 2022 that was amazing was I got to meet a Disney video or a Disney movie editor, somebody that works at Disney that edits their movies. I got to become friends with, and it's because I got to reach out through him through email. And that alone, that relationship alone, opened my eyes to a lot, and they gave me their time, but now we became pen pals. We became friends. I got to meet him in California, and even to this day, we still occasionally talk, which is amazing. And if you're watching this or listening to this by any chance, I continue to wish you the best, because the movies you worked on, they really mean a lot to me. So not only that, but now let's go to 2023. What happened last year? And so for me, this just happened, was on Twitter, I knew about the editing podcast with Hayden Hillier-Smith and Jordan Orm. And I remember seeing a little bit of the episodes, and they were looking for like people, right? Like they were like looking to interview people. And I remember just replying on there like, hey, if you guys ever want to talk to me about what I do with Thomas or whatever, my freelance work, because I've done freelance work outside of Tom for the past few years, I would love to talk about it. And in that grew a friendship. Like I got to be featured on the editing podcast, which has definitely changed my life for the better. But not only that, my work is being more put out there. I got to make amazing connections, and it was through them. So, which is funny, because like the people that I knew the least were the ones vouching for me the most, because they are also editors. They understood me, right? But through them, I got to meet people at Adobe, where Adobe now flew me out to some of their events, like Adobe Max. Never in my life, never did I think that I would be put up in a hotel, all expenses paid, from Adobe, the company that I use their software to make a living from, because they valued me and the skills I had, that they wanted me there. Like that blew my mind, and I am so grateful for that. Like, gosh, if I just told myself years ago that would have happened, I'm getting emotional. I really am. But if I knew years ago that would have happened, I would not have believed myself. Like, there's no way, So anyway, I got to do a lot of these amazing Adobe events, and The next cool thing that happened was Vid Summit. And Vid Summit, I got to be on the speaking panel on the editing panel with also again Hayden, with Jordan. But then I got to meet more of my amazing fellow editors out there. Like YB Chang, like Dodford, and um, Ryan, who works with what is it, Tara, or what's her name? Darn. Well, Michelle Khan, I believe her name was. Pardon me, I'm really bad with names, especially because I'm on the spot right now. But I got to meet more people in my sphere. And I have also never felt more appreciated for what I do than then, because I know a lot of you out there who are also editors or who work behind the scenes will understand how isolating being a behind the scenes worker can be, how alone you can feel. It sucks. So it was nice. It was nice to feel respected and to be amongst the peers that respect the craft of what I do. And then the other cool thing is I got to work with Ben Marriott, who I very much admire. He's also a creator, a motion graphics creator on YouTube, but like I learned most of my motion graphic skills from his videos alone, and the fact that he and I eventually reached out to each other to work with each other. Like the fact that he wanted to work with me and I wanted to work with him, and like it was just amazing because I never thought I would work with him, And again, it's just somebody that I admire. So I got to do a lot of amazing things. And all of that came from putting my name out there, reaching out to more people. And I'm not reaching out to people to gain anything from them. Like, I'm really not. I just want them to know I exist. Like I want people to know I am here. And look at what I've done. Look at what I can do. Look at what I want to do. And if you want to be a part of this with me, or if I want to work with you on something, let's make it happen. Like this is slowly going to pivot now into kind of like where I currently am in my life. But to the last biggest thing that happened before I move on to kind of more like where I currently stand as of recording this, right, was at Vid Summit, I met this guy. I won't give any names. I won't give any details out of respect for him and his privacy. But, he approached me because he liked my talk at Vid Summit. And he told me that, like amongst the hundreds of people that were there and the people he wanted to say hi to and talk to, I was the only one that gave him the time of day, which I can understand exactly how that feels. I get it. And I didn't talk to him out of pity or anything. I talked to him because he was such a nice guy. Like kindness goes a long way for me. So we chatted for a bit, and then later I learned, and he was so nice about this. Even if this doesn't happen, the fact that he thought of me to do this for me and how much I love animation just blows my mind. But he told me like he works at DreamWorks and that he already put in a good word for me, for the people that work there in the production side, and that he's going to look to see if I can shadow them one day. And one of his friends saw my work, who worked on the production side of them, and they like what I do. They were impressed. Like that means so much. Because it means so much because, like, I'm trying to explain to you guys. Like, look, I didn't grow up anything handed to me. Like, I try my best every day to make something of myself, because I remember being in that attic where I dropped out. I had no money, feeling like I made the worst decision of my life. And doing this since I was so young. Like, I know how to look it. I'm 29. I'm about to be 30, man. Once I hit 30, well, I guess technically I hit it when I was 28. But I feel like once I hit 30, I have officially done this for half of my life. Like, I've done this video thing for half of my life. It's crazy. And to know that, like, I have people now who are willing to vouch for me like that. Not because I'm a creator with 2 billion or 2 million subscribers or anything like that. He did it because out of the kindness that I had for him and the respect that he has for my art. Like, that's, it just, I don't know. I have no words for it. I really don't. And, the reason I make videos that I make now too is because I want to help if this is you, I want to help you. people who don't know how to navigate the space, people who don't, they just don't know how they can even pursue this. What skills do you need? What do people even look at? What really matters in this field, you know? Because that was me, and it still is. You know, like, let me fast forward things now to where I currently am. So now I'm 29. I'll be 30 in 6 months, or 5 months now. Now that we're in January, and literally just the other day, I'm not kidding. This probably happened 2 days. I think it was 2 days ago. It was 3 now. Oh no, 2 days ago. I approached someone at the airport, and it was this guy who was talking about video production stuff. Like I overheard a little bit of his conversation, and I just approached them because I was like, listen, this is another guy that does what I do, but it easily sounded like he worked in traditional, like, you know, with Netflix and all this stuff. So I was like, yo, I want to talk to him. Like, that's cool, you know? So I literally introduced myself. We chatted. Turns out, yeah, he works in the traditional sense. He works in California. And, you know, I remember asking him what he does. He asked me what I do. And it turns out he has a really big position in where he's at. I won't, again, not giving any details out of respect for them. But he asked me at some point, he's like, look, I like the stuff you're doing. I see like you and your friends are you have a great business and all this stuff. He's like, I just don't understand your goal. You know, and, you know, it got me thinking, like, well, yeah, I mean, people always ask me that. Like, what's my goal? Like, what is it that I want, you know? But I ask myself that a lot. So now I make $120,000 a year with Tom. I make additional money on the side that I'm trying. I make additional money on the side with other people that I work with because I'm trying to also pay off those student loans that I accumulated stupidly because I kept changing colleges, as you guys know from before. So I make good money. I know I do, and I don't take that for granted. I know what it's like to literally have nothing in your bank account. But the thing that I always ask myself is, yeah, what are my goals? You know. So fast forwarding it to now. So like I sit in front of you recording this because I feel like with everything I've shared, there's nuggets of wisdom in something. There has to be something you guys can take away from this. But I also use this as a reflection for myself because when people ask me what are my goals, what is it that I'm even achieving or striving for now, sometimes I don't even know what to say because look, here's where I'm at. Like, I genuinely love what I do with Tom and our team. We've expanded, right? We have like, 12 people now? Something like that. I love what we do so much. And I love the focus of it, which is to improve people's lives, make people's lives better, make them smarter, make them more capable, because that's what I love. But there's another part of me that loves animation so much. Like, there's a part of me that wants to work in traditional media. And it's not because I don't have enough creative freedom here. It's not because of whatever. It's because that little kid who saw Disney and Pixar films growing up, who eventually learned that he can do that. Like, I have the skills to do it. I've met people now at the Adobe events that work in what I want to do, who have told me straight up, you are more than qualified for this job. The only difference is I need to move out there. I need to like commit myself to California, and I need to start attending and taking like non-union jobs, start adding up these hours that they've mentioned to me, because that will eventually translate to, I think, union. I don't pretend to fully understand this concept yet, but all I know is I now have the connections I need to pursue that dream that little kid had before, to what I had before. But I also don't want to leave the YouTube space. Like, I genuinely love what I do so much that I wouldn't have stayed here with Tom for almost 6 years if I didn't love what we do and if I didn't like the YouTube space. So yeah, where am I now, right? Well, money aside, because I'm going to be honest, I would love to make more money. I know I make plenty. I want to make more money because if you're asking me what are my goals, this is what it is. I want to be financially independent. I want to be financially independent so there comes a point in my life where I can take whatever job I want because it sounds fun. Not because I need the money to pay off my student loans or some other stupid debt that I got myself into. but because the project sounds amazing. You know how amazing it would be if I could make enough money where I can do this with Tom, where I can pursue my own YouTube channel like I am right now. And then if one day a friend of mine over like at, I don't know, like DreamWorks was like, hey, we need you to commit for 8 months, but there's this cool movie or this cool project we want you to be a part of. I want to say yes to that. Like I want to just be able to do what I genuinely want to do and not for any other reason, but because I love it. And I know that's probably wishful thinking, but I also really want my channel to grow because I want to share as much information about this as I can with all of you. Because I know what it's like to be so confused on how to navigate any of this that you probably second guess yourself all the time. You probably think you made a stupid decision wanting to be an editor on YouTube or to be a motion graphics designer or to drive a loud car like that. No, it's just, I get it. Like, you know how amazing to me it would be if I can go to like some really big companies, ask them questions about what skills they look for, what does it really take to be a part of their team, and give that to you guys for free. Give you guys that valuable information for free. Like, I want to do that for you. So, yeah, where do I stand now? Well, I want to be financially independent, take care of my family, take care of myself, my goals. I want to pursue whatever creative endeavor I choose and want to pursue. I want my name to be well known, not for the sake of popularity, but for the sake of I care about my career. And I'm not short sighted with any of this. I need to make sure outside of Thomas Frank, I am known. I need to make sure that outside of YouTube, I am known. Because the way I see it, in life, you have two things. You have how you, like, people will remember you for two things: your name, the weight that that name carries, but then also how you made them feel. And I don't ever want my name to be associated with negativity, or someone's going to say, "Oh, I'm working with Tony," or "I'm working with Civil Spider," and people are like, "Oh, this guy." Like, I don't want that. The reason I don't want that is because, again, if I want to make this a career, I need to treat it as such. I need to treat it with the respect that I feel it deserves. And knowing how hard I fought for this for so long, I don't want to lose it. So, yeah, if there's really any way to sum up this whole thing, I just want I want this to be my career, and I want this to be something I do until I die. If I could just be creative like this until the day I die and make amazing stuff with amazing friends and amazing people and lift those who want to be in my position up so they can achieve the same goals that I had when I was 14, I'll do that. I want to do that. I'm going to push to do that. I'm not saying it's easy. Heck, some of you might even think I'm being unrealistic. But to be fair, I shouldn't even be in the position I'm at anyway. I didn't grow up anywhere fancy. I didn't grow up with people who gave me anything. I had to fight. I had to fight for a lot of this. I had to vouch for myself. I had to put myself in debt. Like, I'm still in debt. But the difference is, like, I have faith in myself. I have, I guess, grit. Like, I don't want to give up. I really don't. So, yeah, I'll slowly start wrapping things up here then. But I do want to say, like, look, in all of this, if I can give some recaps too, to like what are some key takeaways. I mean, I feel like it's okay. For example, like a takeaway would be like, okay, it's okay to take time off of school if you need to. It's okay not to go to college if you don't need a degree for what it is that you're trying to study. I won't tell you not to go to film school if it's something you really want to do, but I don't feel like you need it. But that's something up for debate. All I'll say is I didn't need it. But I'm also not saying that it won't be beneficial to some of you. I'll I'll end that there because that conversation can keep going. Another key takeaway is, like, if you're gonna take this freelance thing, if you're gonna pursue your own endeavors, and you have to be willing to fight for yourself, vouch for yourself, never stop learning. Those three words are the epitome of my life. Like, I never want to stop trying to be the best me I can be. So I would say the same for you. Networking is very important. Make friends. Friends want to work with friends, so go and make some. That's very important. Nourish and treat the relationships you have with people around you with the utmost respect that they deserve, because friendships go a long way. They go further than any skill you can acquire, for sure. Don't be afraid to vouch for yourself, to know your worth. Don't be afraid to ask for more money, because believe me, in the YouTube space, a lot of us are disgustingly underpaid, given the fact of how much I know now. And I will always vouch for you guys, for those that are out there that want more money. I'll vouch for you. Like I understand a lot more now. And whether some people agree with me or not, $350 for one video, if that's a lot for you, that's a day rate. That's how much an editor can make in one day. So how is $350 for a video that's going to take a couple days be too much, So it's just, yeah, do that. And I feel like my brain is trying to turn into mush from all the talking. I actually think I've talked more today than I was planning to all day. I don't really talk like this that much, but I will say, like, at the end of this, I hope that you've learned something from this. I'm glad I opened up. I'm genuinely scared that I opened up this much, because I never like to put my business out there like that on the internet, but I also know how beneficial this can be. So now you'll know as much as I could have shared. And yeah, just if you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section. Maybe if you want, make a follow-up video to this, for all I care. Follow me on Twitter, tweet me. Follow me on Instagram if you'd like. I'm trying to get more better at posting on there, for sure. And yeah, I think this is a good place to end it. So thanks for listening to this. I really hope you listen to this from beginning to end. Like I said, I feel like that's the way you'll get the most out of this. And if you're new here and you're considering subscribing, I really appreciate that. Thank you for the like as well. I see that you liked the video. I appreciate that as well. And yeah, if my channel can blow up enough where I can even stop taking side work to pay my other bills, if I can just focus on my channel and the Thomas Frank channels, you've given me yet another blessing that you best believe I'm just going to pay it forward with the content I make. So, all right. Well, I'm going to shut up now. So, thank you for listening. I'll see you guys in the next video.